Do you ever feel like you want to leave what you're doing and follow your passion but are not able to build up the courage to do that? This video should definitely help you. Today, we are in conversations with Satyajit Hange of Two Brothers Organic Farm, who left his corporate career and is now running a successful organic farm venture. Please watch this video right till the end because he has some very important tips for all the youngsters out there. Hello everyone, welcome back to KYP. This is Arshit and let's start with the video.
Welcome Satyajit to KYP. Thank you so much for taking out time to share your story and sharing your knowledge with others. So let me just start with the first question.
My pleasure, Arshad. Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us something about your background before starting Two Brother Organic Farm? Like what has been your education been like, or even your professional career?
So, Arshad, I belong to a farmer's family. My father's a farmer, and I was born in this village called Bodni in Indapur Taluka in Pune district. And coming from a farmer's family and looking at what has happened to farming over the last 40 odd years, my parents thought it fit that I go to a city for education and later on take up a job in a larger city and continue my career and my life in a city and an urban place. And so I was educated in a boarding school in Pune, the Bishop School, and then went on to do my graduation in economics from the Ferguson College in Pune, and then did my MBA from the Department of Management Sciences, that's the University of Pune, Department of Management Sciences.
Okay.
And then went on to work with a couple of banks and financial institutions, along with an educational university, till I realized that this was not my cup of tea, not my area of interest. And while I was having this experience and while I was doing this, and similar line was being followed by my younger brother Ajinkya, who had grown in the similar circumstances, similar kind of education, and he also felt the same. And we used to have these very short duration trips to our village for Diwali holidays or for summer holidays, and we got a glimpse of the village life, of how food was grown, animals being reared, village folk, and that interested us a lot for a very long time. But we didn't have the courage, the gut to leave something that society had so strongly conditioned in our minds. And we were a successful case study in the sense that we had done our education, got to good jobs, got married. So, you know, we didn't find a single person who said, leave all this and follow your passion and do what you like, and leave the secured for the unsecured, leave the surety for the risk. But somewhere down in our minds, we were not comfortable, and this thought of that you have only one life to live, you know, and why postpone all that you want to do to some other day? So typically, what even people think and what you were thinking is that we will continue doing a job in a city, earn money, secure our life, and then some fine day when we retire from doing a job, we will skip to doing farming, which is our area of interest. But then we thought, who's seen that day, whether it will come or no, your physical health will support you or no, and why do something for such a long duration when it doesn't interest you? So ultimately, we followed our heart, took this tough call, kind of bit the bullet and got into farming.
Wow, that is so good to hear. I mean, we always hear these stories of people always wanting to do something, but they're not able to take that leap. So it is very good to hear that you guys did this great thing. Yeah. So as
Yeah.
you mentioned that I mean, you were born in a farmer's family. So you must have spent some time in the fields yourself. So did you always know the basics of farming? Because it is. I'm sure it is also a very big art. How did you develop that knowledge side of farming?
Yeah. So when we were in the village and our interest lied in farming, uh, why naturally we started observing how things are functioning, how animals are being reared, how food is grown, how it's harvested, how it's made, and you don't need to learn and remember things when you like something. It automatically
Okay.
gets registered, and you automatically start comprehending how it's functioning, and you don't need to force your self on any knowledge or anything. It automatically gets stuck in your head. So we observe these things and we liked it. So we were observing it day to day, year on year for a very long time. But yes, I would say that we were not 100% up to date in terms of farming knowledge,
Hmm.
because we never stayed on the farm and in the village for a very long duration. It was
Right.
maximum 1 or 2 months for holidays, and that too we were always told to not do something related to farming.
Hmm.
So when we took this call of coming back to farming, it was difficult. Our education was not in the agriculture space. Our education was in the management space, and we had never done hands-on farming. So it was very difficult to understand how things are done. But once we, kind of chose this and started doing it, we started realizing that the kind of farming that was going on was not very good for the soil fertility, for the water resources, for the nutrition in crops, and that made us, very conscious about what we were doing, and we decided to change
Right.
our entire pattern of farming to organic farming. Now, you know, primarily we were not very well accustomed, and we didn't know the know-how of farming in general. And now, we decided to lay our interest on organic farming. Organic farming is
Right.
practiced by very, very, very few farmers across the country. So
Hmm.
even tougher knowledge to get, even hard know-how to understand and to see being implemented somewhere. But
Right.
then we started reading a lot of literature related to organic farming. We started watching a lot of content and videos
Hmm.
that are available on the public platforms like YouTube and other research sites on organic farming. We started visiting farmers, and that was the best thing to happen,
Hmm.
better than reading a book or seeing a video. When you go to a farmer's field and you see stuff firsthand, you're observing things by all the five senses, and
Right.
you understand things far better. So with all these three methods, we kind of got the raw input of farming, assimilated it in our entire heads, and started doing experiments with that knowledge. Because ultimately, you cannot take some concept from somewhere else in some other geography and implement
Right.
it per se in your place, because your climate is different, your soil is different, your
Correct.
geography is different, your market is different. So the principles we learned, and we started doing our own experiments. And then I think with time and success and failure, and time and success and failure, we have got some things right, which are now helping us, become sustainable.
Wow. I mean, yes, I think organic farming, I mean, as you mentioned, that very few people actually practice it, and as it is a more sustainable way, I think it is just good for everybody and even the environment as well.
Absolutely. Organic farming, even a simple analysis tells you that it's good for the soil, it's good for the water resources, it's good for the biodiversity in the soil, of the soil, it's good for native variety of food that is going extinct. And what you produce is good for consumers when they eat it, because it is full of nutrition. It is, full of stuff that keeps your health good. So I think it's good for the environment, it's good for the customer, it's good for the farmer. So yes, I completely agree with you on that.
Mhm. So now that you have gone this entire experience, so would you say there is any particular skill as an individual which is important when you look at yourself as a farmer? It may be the actual knowledge, or it may be the marketing, or that part of the entire job. So what would you say is like one key skill one should have in order to like be maybe successful in this profession?
So ultimately, farming is it might be technically different from some other business, but it's a business, right? So you
Right.
need your basic entrepreneurial skills, and that includes technical know-how of farming and organic farming, and how things are to be grown the right way and stuff. And then to become sustainable, you're not a research center. You don't get grants to do this kind of farming, though if it is experimentative in nature. You know, to sustain and make a living out of it, you have to have an equal emphasis on marketing and get your products at the right price to the right consumer who's conscious and who's aware of this kind of food and who's ready to pay for the right value for this kind of food. So I would say one is technical know-how of farming, second is marketing skills. So farming, and doing this entire business sustainably is like riding a bicycle, right? Your one leg should be on the farming, one leg should be on the marketing, and that's how you balance your entire, venture and it moves ahead.
Oh, that is a very interesting analogy. Yeah. Thanks for that. So, would you recommend others to take up farming? Obviously, now that you have spent this time, and as you said, there must have been a lot of learning and unlearning involved to get to this point. So, what are also some of the challenges that are involved in farming, and how can one overcome those? I mean, it may be very very basic. Now that we have talked about knowledge base, you've mentioned how one can do that, but there's also capital, there's manpower. So how did you manage all of that?
Yeah, so to add on to what I was to your question and what skill sets you need, and I told you it's technical know-how, farming, and marketing knowledge. You also need a lot of physical endurance in farming. Farming is a profession where you have to be on the ground, you have to be on the field, you have to pick up stuff, you have to do a lot of physical activity if you are a full-time farmer. You know, and if you're a farmer own brand like ours and you're farming also and selling also, it requires you to have a strong physical endurance, physical stamina, physical strength, physical fitness. So I think these are the essential things. In terms of challenges for doing farming, the challenges arise when a person or a student or somebody who's interested comes from an urban background, because normally farms are located in rural countrysides and backgrounds. And somebody who has grown up all his life in an urban context, when he comes to a rural context and tries to get things done, there's a culture shock that he experiences. You know, there are many, assumptions and many, ways of life that are in cities that is not, in the rural countryside. You have professionalism in terms of work, other stuff that is very, very well evolved in
Right.
urban landscape. That is not yet evolved in the rural landscape. People are not, I mean, very, very professional like they are in the cities. You have to work with them. Their
Right.
emotion. I mean, emotion context is very high when you work with people in the rural landscape. So you have to work with them on that front. You can't just limit your involvement and association to giving them salary and taking work. You have to look at them in a holistic fashion and ensure that they are you address all their concerns in their life, and that is one technical know-how about farming is very less when people from urban landscape come to
Right. Right.
a rural landscape. And I think land laws sometimes prevent you from coming to farming as such, because many of these states have a law where you cannot purchase land unless you are a farmer.
Agriculture.
So if
Right.
you are a urbanite who's an engineer, who's a doctor, and who's interested in doing farming, but your parents don't have a farm, sadly you cannot buy a farm and you cannot become a farmer.
Right.
So one of those very few professions where policy has made it very difficult for fresh minds and people to come back to farming.
Oh yeah, that is I think a very interesting point regarding policies. Yeah. Also, just one question. So let's say if someone kind of wants to follow your path in a way, so without giving away any of your secrets, but what are some key milestones in this field? Like suppose I start my business, so what should my milestones be so that I know that I'm kind of on track and I obviously there are this like I know the crops are growing well and the sales are doing well, but are there any other key milestones that like one should be aware of?
Like we entered farming because we were interested in farming per se. The business was an offshoot because we wanted to make the farming sustainable. So for us, the benchmark was always increasing soil carbon,
Mhm.
increasing biodiversity of the plants, creating a food forest, getting native cows on the farm, doing farming the traditional way, growing heirloom varieties of food. So for us, those were the benchmarks. Business numbers and
Mhm.
stuff were never benchmarks as such. But people who come with that kind of a expectation then need to set their own benchmarks in terms of your
Right.
turnover or number of farmers' lives affected or number of consumers that you have bought in your
Mhm.
venture and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. And like very lastly, just I mean, if you like have any message or if you want to share anything with your viewers.
So all I would say is that I have gone through, and you must have heard this from many people, but at some point in life, I was where the viewer is, and where students of who are in that age bracket, who are just passing out from college and getting that basic education. Uh, Majority of them don't believe in themselves, because
Mm,
you have been conditioned till that age by parents and by society and by friends and relatives, and you tend to think in that fashion for a very long time. But I would say that risk is one element in life. The faster you quote it, the better it is.
mm,
Instead of losing age and being very secure and doing stuff that is not very risky, and then taking risk at a later part in your life, I would suggest people that if there is something that interests them, there is something that where their passion lies. Uh, I would strongly suggest every young guy out there at that age, within college, to follow that passion.
mm,
Irrespective of the fact that that passion not might not seem logical, might not seem rational to the best of minds in the society that they know,
mm,
in the college that they know. It might never seem rational and logical. You know, just remember this always, that there is only one life to live.
mm,
You you cannot waste time doing something you do not like. Even one single day lost doing something that you don't like, something you're not comfortable doing, it's not worth it, believe me.
mm,
Whereas when you start doing something you like, where your passion lies, however much the difficulty, the challenges, the adversities are, ultimately it helps in building your personality. That friction, that
right.
opposition helps in building your personality. It brings up your confidence because you are believing in something that your gut tells you that your passion lies, and guides you ultimately to a life that is far more satisfying, far more peaceful, far more progressive, and far more economically fulfilling.
Wow. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, thank you again, Satyajit, for like sharing everything with us. I'm sure like everybody is all this information, especially coming from someone who has actually been there and is doing that, is definitely great. So thank you so much for like sharing everything.
Super, Varshit. It was a pleasure sharing this with you. And what you're doing is an amazing concept, which will help many individuals and youngsters. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for inviting me.
So that was our conversation with Satyajit. Please do give this video a like and share it with all your friends and family so that they can know about this story. Also, do subscribe to my channel for more such content. Alright, see you in the next one. Bye.